Hi, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Hi, good morning, Ravi sir.
Hey, Rohit.
Thank you for being on time. Grateful to you. Hello, everyone. We have Ravi sir with us. He's a Harvard alumni, rescue pilot, and he does more things than I can even count for it. But the only thing that we are kind of grateful to him is that he had seeded the Incubate IND, and therefore we remain indebted, grateful to him for our life. And that's the best introduction that I can perhaps give of this man. So he does all sort of things. He does sexy podcast videos. He does interviews with global tech leaders. He's a rescue pilot, as you see. He's just done a ventilator that is about to come in the market, or it has already come in the market. That's a question maybe he'll be able to answer best. Over to you, sir. There are about, students across India who are willing to kind of now interact
And
with you. Over to
and
you,
what's
sir.
the, and what's the topic, Rohit?
Oh God, you don't need a topic. We just wanted you to kind of request you to talk about how AI is changing businesses across.
Hmm. Okay. Um, so first of all, thank you, Rohit, for having me. Um, you guys gave me more credit than I deserve. Um, those who don't know Incubate IND, uh, they are a group of passionate people who are trying to bring change and be the change, and that's how I describe them. My relationship with them has been a relationship of learning. All of them teach me whenever I meet them. They are way more younger. That doesn't mean that I'm old, but they are way more younger than me. And their network in terms of understanding problem, at least problems in India, is one of the widest and one of the deepest one. And I value them a lot, and I value their network a lot. So it's an honor, it's a privilege, and it's a pleasure to again come on your platform, Rohit. And hopefully in next 15-20 minutes, I'll make some sense. So the reason why I asked for the topic was is AI relevant for businesses? And there was a question mark. And you know what? This question I have been answering since 2007. In 2007 in Las Vegas, I presented my paper on cognitive languages, which was a very simple paper in a sense that I gave my argument that a new language is appearing between humans and machines. I said it already exists. Okay, and companies or organizations, institutions which are able to tap into this, they will make tons of money. They will enlarge, extend their markets. They will be able to satisfy uh, their existing customers. Governments who take this particular philosophy or take this particular algorithm, they will be able to offer far better citizen services. Democracy will really, really prosper. And I thought that I had answered this question in 2007, where I basically put my algorithm and I opened my algorithm. In 2008, I was asked this question 4 times. In 2009, I was asked this question, I forgot how many times, it was definitely more than four. And last year, I was asked this question in almost every lecture or every talk I gave on AI. Is only thing the question changed from a generic question. It became, hey, is it relevant to healthcare? Hey, is it relevant to aviation? Hey, is it relevant to e-commerce? Hey, it is relevant to retail. Hey, it is relevant to manufacturing, and so on and so forth. And I'll try to address why this question actually bothers me. The reason why this question bothers me, because this question is not relevant to AI. This question is relevant to thinking of leadership in organizations today. So I make my first point. My first point is, if you are compassionate, if you are really compassionate about your customers, if you're really compassionate about your own employees, if you're compassionate about humans, then AI definitely is relevant to you, and you should do something about it. Now, a lot of people talk about, when I say this, a lot of people look at me with suspicion because I'm a robotics engineer. I'm a trained robotics engineer, and the general philosophy or general thinking is that robots take away jobs. And if you mix robotics with AI, then it includes conversational languages, then that includes cognitive understanding, and then say, oh, now robotics will definitely take away jobs. It will be against the employment. And I say, look, if you want to imbibe AI, then you have to be compassionate. And this is my hypothesis. You may agree or you may not agree, but let me tell you this hypothesis. And most of this hypothesis, I start with this because this is very relevant to Incubate IND. The reason why it's relevant to Incubate IND is that because their feet are on ground, and they give me a lot of clues about what's happening in this particular world. Okay, so if you actually look at world of youngest democracies, okay, which can be or youngest countries, which can be India, which can be Egypt, which can be Mexico, and so on and so forth. If you look at the young population, most of this youth, they are drivers of economy. Okay, now if you actually look at India, and if you look at services part of India, or if you look at manufacturing part of India, you fundamentally see a 19-year-old or 20-year-old person, male or female or male, sitting behind a desk and basically doing something repeatedly using their hands. And this services industry is highly glorified. So if you actually look at somebody sitting in a hospital behind a reception, or in a call center, or at an airport information desk, they fundamentally answer that same question again and again, and their fingers type these 7-8 keys again and again. And if that is the definition of employment, then I'm sorry, I don't agree with that. And if that is the future which we are going to give it to our youth, then I don't agree with that. And my disagreement continues thereafter. Systems which we build, if we are building those systems where somebody has to press those 4 or 5 keys for 8.5 hours of their job, then something is wrong with that tech, something is wrong with that particular system. And here, I think AI comes as a fresh rescue. Because what AI does, it basically provokes, it basically pushes companies to invest in skill development. It pushes government to reform their education. And that's where the real reason for having AI should be, in businesses or in governments. So my first hypothesis is compassion. If organizations have compassion, then they will understand that the creative or where the true intent of a person lies, that particular part will go to humans. And the repetitive activities which are done every day, nobody wants to do one single thing every day, 8 hours a day. Those kind of jobs or those kind of activities will move to machines. Those machines can be software, they can be algorithms, they can be a mix of machine learning and structured languages, and so on and so forth. So that is my first point. My second point is, a lot of people think that AI is basically a magic bullet, which it is not. It's a code which it's a methodology. It's a computer science branch, and one of the first algorithms I wrote in Prolog when I was doing my engineering, which was roughly about 25 years back. So it's not something new. The point over here is that businesses or organizations or governments need to know what really they want. Do they want insights? Do they want autonomy? Do they want robotic-based industrialization? Do they want enhancement of customer services? And so on and so forth. And most often than not, when businesses, they are creating their strategies or they are creating their roadmaps, they forget one of the most important aspect of thinking and running business, which is tech. And according to me, the kernel or the neural part of that has to be AI. So if AI is not part of your core strategy, that means you don't know what to do with AI. And since you don't know what to do with AI, then AI becomes some kind of a pilot project. And most people, they do these pilot projects and they win good awards and all that stuff. And then they just put that award on their walls or something like that. And it ends. And then AI doesn't survive. And then they say, oh, by the way, we thought AI is singularity or magic or something like that. AI is just a thinking. And you convert that particular thinking algorithms to get more insights, to create more autonomy, to bring industrialization at a rapid pace, to enhance your customer services, so on and so forth. So that's my second point. Businesses need to know what do they really want out of AI. They need to make AI as a core of their strategy, whether it is running business or whether it is generating more business, capturing more markets, so on and so forth. That brings me to my third point. And my third point is, even though a lot of computerization and digitization has happened in last 2 decades, most large, or in fact, most medium and large organizations don't even know where their data exists and how their data, even if that data is a structured data, it talks to each other. So even though they have loosely or tightly coupled integrated systems, those systems are based on fundamental legacy code or some APIs which talk to each other based on some exchange of parameters, where the real core data is an unstructured data. And they totally miss that, whether it is customer feedbacks, whether it is new customer insights, whether it is what is happening in an organization, what employees are thinking, what they're really talking about. All this is unstructured data. So they don't even know where this unstructured data resides, how this unstructured data is going to basically converge into structured data, how system of records which exist, whether they are system of records of people, whether they are system of records of revenue, whether they are system of records of cost, whether they are system of records of operations, engineering, whatsoever. They don't even know how this unstructured data is basically going to get embedded into structured systems. Because people who are coming from education institutes, they don't understand that. They are not taught. And people who have built this particular system, they never thought about it. And people who are running businesses, they don't care. They don't care because they don't understand, because it's not easy to understand. It's a tough thing. It's a tough problem. So that is my third point. If you need to know where your data exists and what you can do with that. And today there's no excuse, and there's no excuse because of only one reason. In the history of compute, the cost of compute hasn't been as low as it is today. It has never been that low. Cloud has made it cheaper and way cheaper, and it is accessible to everyone, small, medium, large, extra large, huge, everyone. All kinds of businesses, all kinds of organizations, all kinds of institutions, and all kinds of governments. Okay, so these are three principles. These are three thinking principles which I give it to anyone who is in a leadership position and who really, really wants to take his organization, his government, his democracy to a next level with AI. Now let me take you, and this I have never spoken before, and this I'm doing only for Incubate in India because I usually don't take it to a level where, and then there are students. So I want to explain this. So it doesn't, I don't leave it at a philosophy level. Okay. Let's take a simple example of a business or a business organization. What kind of departments it has? Okay. It has this commerce department, which actually generates revenues, takes care of revenues. What is the most important aspect of this commerce of this commerce department? To capture markets. So how do you capture market? To capture market, you have to do some kind of investment. Liquidity is scarce. Cash is very precious. You have to invest. How do you ensure that your investment is going to be a results? How do you do a demographic study? How do you actually find out that this market is relevant to me? How do you find out that your competition exists? Today, it is just market research reports. That's not the right way of doing it. The biggest source of information is internet. If you can actually mine internet and you can find machine learning vectors out of it, you can actually find out, oh, by the way, I need to do business over here because this is the reasons, this is the customer segment, these are the commodity products which are not available, and hence I will get into it. I'm just giving you an example. Let's take another department. I'll go through all the departments of an organization so it becomes crystal clear to everyone. Second one is sales. What is the responsibility of sales? Reach as many customers as you can. So how do they know that which customers to reach? Are they going to reach every customer in the population of India? Are they going to reach everyone? So how do they do that? They can easily do it through AI. They can easily do through insights which they can get from their existing customers and extend it. And how do they do that? Through marketing. What is the primary role of marketing? To acquire customers, to create messaging so that customers, so that they can acquire customers. Now, how can you acquire customers? Not through CRM. You can acquire customers by translating what customers are talking about. For example, if I actually go to a coffee shop, okay, and if I'm buying a coffee worth 500 rupees, that means if I have a capability of spending 500 rupees in a particular coffee shop, what else I can buy? That information can be very important for another retailer, maybe a grocery seller. If you can extend that, if your algorithm is that strong, you can extend it. If I repeatedly go and buy a coffee for 500 bucks, maybe I can buy a certain category of car. That's what I'm talking about. HR. How does HR really knows what people are talking about? Look at the age of people. Average age is like 24 years. 24-year person doesn't come to an HR saying that, look, this is what I think and that is what I think. They basically chat among themselves. That is the most precious information. That is the information which will tell you what is the culture of the company. Are they happy? Are they not happy? What kind of culture do they want? Finance, they want to optimize costs. There's tons of data. Structured, system of records are not going to tell you. They can only tell you accounting. And then it is IT. You don't require tons of people to manage infrastructure. All these places, AI has to play a very, very important role. Very, very important role. So I just wanted to give you an example which I thought is there. Now somebody's asking me a question: can AI help us tackle pandemic in some way, like potential vaccine? Or no, that is not my area. But I will tell you what has happened, what I have seen. In this, one of the fundamental mistakes, Siddharth, what people do is they start thinking extraordinary big. Something big will happen with AI. So what has happened in this epidemic? People have suffered. People have suffered because nobody knows their behavior. Nobody knows what they need. There is no mechanism to satisfy their need. If somebody is sick, they don't know what is the nearest place to go, whether they're really sick. And then I'll come to my philosophy of ventilator, or my invention of ventilator. So if you are a producer of milk, and if you find a person moving from, let's say, a city in India migrating towards his village. And if you know exactly the location of this person, and if this person has got 2 kids and they require food, and if your citizen services are AI based, and if your retail is one of the node in that AI citizen services platform, you can easily satisfy a need of that particular person. In fact, some e-commerce companies have made tons of money by doing this, by satisfying need of the customer when they actually required, by writing machine learning algorithms. You can do other things. For example, I built this particular ventilator because I thought that why ventilators are so expensive. It's ventilator is a mechanism where you basically say that, hey, you require this quanta or this volume of air in your lungs, and if you are not getting that, then you can find an external instrumentation. You can create some kind of external instrumentation, and then you can measure based upon the breathing capacity versus what actual breathing is required, and you can build that using a simple machine learning plus instrumentation, IoT. You can easily build it, and I was able to build this in less than 2 months. There's so many things what you can do to find out people who are actually have got infections, to take care of those people using combining machine learning and social media. Identification is not good enough. So there's so many use cases of AI, and AI is no more. AI is cloud and AI is basically legacy. We just want to talk about them and don't write code. We should start writing code instead of talking about them. And after having said that, the last thing which I want to mention is, it's not about whether AI is relevant of business. Fact is that businesses and governments, they have to get ready, and they have to get ready for the betterment of civilization, because the fact is that a universal language is appearing. It has already appeared in younger generation, where they use this particular language to interact with machines using various platforms and applications. So question is not about business is ready or not. Question is, business have to get ready. They have to build platforms. Otherwise, somebody else is going to do it, and they will be decommissioned, and they will be destroyed. Or our civilization will be at a standstill if we continue with structured languages and structured system of records and structured applications. This is not sustainable. A convergence has to happen from the perspective of mathematical vectorizations of unstructured data, convert that into machine learning code, take that machine learning code so that it can relate to instrumentation, which can be robotics, and push that particular robotics in the robotics, AI, and mathematics into the overall ecosystem of industrialization, whether it is services or whether it is manufacturing or whether it is farming or whether it is aerospace. And that's my request. That's my request to each and every student who wants to become an entrepreneur, or who is a startup entrepreneur and they want to improve their company, or who are existing leaders and they really want to enhance their organization to next level. Thank you for listening me. Hope I made some sense in my talk. Over to you, Roy.
And manner that most of us do not. So I thought I'll just pick this question up with you first, and then maybe ask more questions later.
Well, I was not able to hear you, Roy.
Can AI help us develop a potential vaccine by genome sequencing? Is the question.
Somebody asked me, Rohit, I honestly, I don't know the answer. I can give some clues how it can help. First, you require a lot of data to create a vaccine. Okay. In that case, machine learning can definitely help you. Machine learning can help you in terms of finding out um, how it can actually reduce your testing to a large extent, both physical testing as well as lab testing. And from that perspective, it can do that. It can also help in terms of developing your research. These are the two areas which, but this is not my field. This is, I don't want to say, because this is a very sensitive field. Only thing which I know in these two one, machine learning can play extremely important role in terms of reducing the testing time and reducing the research time. The rest I don't know, Rohit, for a fact.
Right. What there's one other question which is largely at a student level. Uh, do you think, sir, there's a lot of students are asking, is it uh, good to do certification courses in AI? What is your, 3-point mantra to these students on how they can learn AI in a better manner? Practical, theoretical, online courses, working with leaders like you and doing internships, etc., etc. What do you think is the best way forward for these students?
Best way, you know my answer, right? Best way is internship. There's
Correct.
nothing beats that. That's how I learned. Right. So I started coding when I was 14 years old. Even though I come from a generation where coding was not very common. Uh, but I started with an assembly language because I actually found a microprocessor and I was mesmerized with that. And my parents were good enough to encourage me to go in that route. And my first my person who helped me first was a lab assistant in a university. Okay, so he took pity on me. So first is access to that technology. That means you should self learn. You should have your own tools. You should start writing a code. Writing code is not difficult. It's like writing a book. Okay, you don't have to start by doing your masters in doing that. Anyone can write a poem, anyone can write a book. So I see that. Second thing is that if you can find somebody who is already a developer, oh, there is nothing better than that. If you can write code along with someone, that's if that is not possible, then the third one is that create a group and learn amongst yourself with the help of online. Okay, and my last one goes to classroom. Now that's stunning. I don't think I have never understood how can somebody teach coding in a classroom. It didn't work for me, but may work for someone else. So it would be in that sequence.
And my last question to you is, I mean, that's like seeding of our brand. Do you think hackathons are the better way to learn coding, etc.? Yeah.
I will tell you two things. It is not, I think a lot of people associate hackathons only with ideation. I think they do a tremendous mistake. Hackathon is a place where developers and creators come together and they collaborate. Whether they learn or whether they not, they understand who is doing what, how competitive it is, and how tough it is to take an idea to execution. And that's why hackathon should happen more and more, and large hackathon should happen, which kind of becomes, I don't know, anthem or emblem of creativity. I think hackathons are most important. They don't get that they're due. uh, Hackathons are, if you want to really create next generation companies, hackathons are more important than institutions. You can have mediocre institutions, but if those mediocre institutions can participate in hackathons, ideation will go to a second lead and startups will mushroom, and good startups will mushrooms, not these grocery startups. They're real good startups which generate products, and those products are meant for India. It will do that. Hackathons are very important.
So, as the last question, a lot of people have asked, what's the best way to connect with you? Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram? Where are you spending your time the most?
Facebook, and little bit of Twitter, but Facebook, yes.
Okay, so all of you have the answer. So, you can connect with Ravi sir on Facebook. And we'll share that his connects with you on the chat in 5 minutes from now. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your time. I know you're hard pressed for the time. You have another meeting running. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye. Bye.